Just give me some lip.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 10% Expressing Our Point of View. I am very excited about this show. I have brought back a couple of people from, oh my god, all three of you have been on previous shows. Excellent. So I brought them back because they're just so awesome. Let's go ahead and introduce them.
Travis Barr, a marketing professional here in Dallas and a card-carrying member of the Long Now organization, which you can learn more about at longnow.org.
Bill Peck, gay Republican.
You just had to say it, didn't you?
Didn't you
say it? Oh my God, Philip Archer, not a gay Republican.
But you're sitting beside one.
That's right. Exactly. And I'm the managing director of Outtakes Dallas.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I gotta say, there was a guest we were gonna have on the show. I'm not going to name names, but I will read you the text message. Okay, you ready?
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, now I don't know if the proper term is drag queen or tranny or...
It all depends on the
queen,
state of the
Or
state.
illusionist.
I mean,
Yes, illusionist.
transgender.
Yeah, one of
all
those.
that.
Anyway, so she texts me and says, "This is blank. A friend and I were on our way to the library, which is here, which is where this is shot, and went down the wrong way on a street and were in a wreck. Waiting for police, probably won't make it, sorry."
So the short message there is that she's drunk, right?
I blew a heel, and I blew the heel
got in
because
the
I had
car.
7 martinis at lunch, and it takes me 3 hours to get ready.
Now, I don't want to say anything. Maybe she wasn't a wreck. But one of the topics that I was going to talk to her about was, I know, being a filmmaker, I shot a movie, and all of the drag queen characters in the movie, we had to use people that weren't drag queens. Why? Because the drag queens were on their own schedule, and the world owed them something. And if you said, okay, call time is at 3, they would want to show up at 5:30, and everything is just fine, and they're ready to work. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk to her about that, and when this happens, this is,
There you have it.
Well, how do they keep their schedule at the Rose Room? Because it seems to go off, I mean, maybe it's just...
But you know what? They're much more concerned when there's money involved.
Mm.
They're more dependable when there's money involved.
I would think that exposure and just being seen, especially like in front of a camera,
But you
would...
see, in their mentality, they don't need the exposure. They're doing you a favor, I'm sure.
I didn't think about that. I mean, they are stage people, so they're
Yeah.
probably like, I get exposed. I'm exposed all the time. I mean,
Oh.
I think it's a little
I'm
bit
sure they're
diva,
exposed all the
too.
time.
Yeah, it is a
there's-
little...
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's
yeah.
that resistance to conform on any level with a drag queen. And, that's what they're all about because, their whole personality is, an affront to the culture at large. So, it's all about them, really. And
Girl, we're gonna have a drag queen riot. I can't wait to see them. They're gonna be dragging her down the street, setting her on fire. It'll be like Iraq.
We
It's
take-
like,
give me my heels
It's
if
like
you haven't
cruise
seen
in.
anything
I'll be
yet.
like, Oprah, I
Cruise
just
into
did a
calling you
show
out,
with
thanking
him.
you.
I was like
Thank
on the
God.
air with him right before the drag queen started and took him. And the next thing you know, they're dragging him down the street behind a gremlin and he's dead. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they set him on fire.
And why does it have to be a gremlin? Why does the gremlin always get the raw end of the auto
a pinto.
analogy?
Okay.
So
There
much
you
better.
go.
I like the
There you
thing.
There you go.
Actually, I
You
love the
go.
gremlin.
So what I was really going to start the show about before we got off on this topic was, of course, talking about our new president, right? Obama.
Obama!
Really
Woo!
awesome. Yay, yay. Okay.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm
what I
not.
wanted to say was I wanted to, let's go back to voting day.
Oh, I wish
So
we could.
when I went...
Stuffed a few ballot boxes in Ohio like 2004. We done
I would have
good.
voted 3 times if I knew it would make a difference.
So I go in the
That would
voting
be Highland
booth.
Park.
I go in the voting booth and there's this piece of paper, right? I know some people had touch screens. I didn't
You
have
had
no
paper?
freaking touch
Where,
screens. I had
where
paper
was your district, Oak Clear?
off of Live Oak.
My district was Oak Cliff and we had computerized machines.
Oh.
Wow.
Thank you. For those of you who think Oak Cliff is where the dregs of humanity live, I beg to differ.
Wow.
Yeah, well, apparently it doesn't follow along socioeconomic lines because I live in Uptown and we had, it was a chalk and a board and then you had to translate that into stone. It was
Well, and when I lived in Irving, we had to like a chisel and a palette.
We did
It's
chimpanzee in pictures.
Oh, wow! You should be standing outside of Sarah Palin rally
think
without
he did
getting
that
Lord.
This
Oh,
is just the
that's-
intro
oh,
of the show.
Stir it up.
Wow.
Oh,
I hope you didn't mean it that way.
No.
So anyway, so I have the people that I'm going to vote for, right? You know, let's say the 4 or 5 that I know. Yes.
you didn't vote
But then-
straight Democratic.
Well, I kind of did, but that was my question: is how do you vote for all of these local people or all of these other smaller people that you don't know who they are? How do you make your decisions?
Well, a lot of people vote straight ticket for that reason, but you know, it really comes down to the person themselves taking it upon themselves to educate themselves about these local
you do it?
races. I make an effort to, but I honestly cannot tell you that I voted for every single one. Now, if there's 2 people or 3 people, like for instance, there was Libertarian on one of them, you know, that I'll usually go for Libertarian or the Independent Party just as, you know, kind of a protest vote to, you know, support the third party system that we don't have. But if I don't know, I usually skip it, and you know, that's one of the reasons some people vote straight ticket. But
I worked harder this time than ever before. I mean, I read a lot of stuff. I studied really hard, and I didn't vote straight ticket. I don't believe in it. So I did vote for a Libertarian because I didn't vote for any Republicans. I'm sorry. But I would. I mean, if I was back in Irving, I would have voted for Linda Harper Brown because I love her and she's great representative. And
What about
she's
Lupe
Republican.
Valdez?
That's-
Oh, Lupe!
well,
Yep.
we love Lupe.
Chase my people.
Yes.
I don't know,
Just
I
chase my
have-
people.
Lupe is
I
fabulous.
have a formula.
she's not gay.
It's
She's a lesbian.
Republican,
Right,
Republican,
I'm gonna-
Democratic.
Love me.
Really?
some
Yeah.
So every third
RRD,
one.
RRD. If I don't know who they are, I'd like to mix it up every once in a while.
I'm proud of you for doing that because that's, you know, you're really giving. Instead of just going, you could just go in there and go, well, I'm voting Republican just because.
Yeah, well, you know. I
Well,
gotta-
that's.
Right. Well, I'm actually really. I'm sorry about this, but you know, the whole Republican thing. I mean, I'm just curious as to what, you know, the Republican Party offers a gay man that, you know, I mean, I don't see you on the cover of Forbes, so you're not like a multi-billionaire to my knowledge. So I'm kind of like, well, you know, it's not the taxes. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So I'm just curious. You know, what is it about the Republican Party that draws a gay man such as yourself?
Well, you know, I think it's just like the way people pick their religions. It's what some of their core values are, some of their beliefs, some of the things that, you know, their agendas. You know, whatever is important to me at the time, you know, as long as it's aligned with whatever is important to them, and that's what I go for. I mean, if I'm actually kind of a little bit more independent, you know, a little more, I guess, libertarian, but I like what the Republican Party core values were for the past.
Just one show and he's already independent. I'm so proud of myself.
I tend to lean that way, but what I'm saying is, I mean, if an independent came up and had the core values that I really felt were important to me and were pushing the things that were important to me, you know, like a lot of the gay issues just right now aren't important to me. I think there are other things in the world globally that I think we should take care of first before we talk about gay marriage. I don't really care about gay marriage right now. I'd rather win the war against terrorism. You know, I think that in my top 10, I list them and then I see who is most aligned with what I like.
And you know, that is a very, very common. I have lots of friends that are Republicans, and that's a very, very common thing. They say this is just not as important, and not to offend, but you know, my response is, okay, so our country was founded on having freedom from persecution of religion, and gay people can't get married because there's a bunch of Jesus freaks out there that think that it's wrong, and so this is not important. I'm like, amending our Constitution, that's not important. It's like, oh, this war is important. This war over in Iraq, a bunch of people that we've never met before, isn't, but, you know, amending our Constitution is
We
not
have
important.
we have to cut to break. Sorry to cut you off. We'll be right back. Keep watching. Like, here comes the Senate. Oh, nope, it's continuing.
When people talk about homosexuality, they often ask, is it a choice?
I heard it is.
Hello, what's your name?
Christian.
Well, Christian, let's see what the latest science has to say.
Oh, that.
To help us, here are 2 gay people, George and Martha. Before we can answer, is it a choice, we must first determine what it means to be gay. How do you know you're a homosexual?
The same way you know that you're straight.
Since the 19th century, many theories about homosexuality have been offered that are untestable and contradictory.
Male homosexuality is the result of an absent father and an overbearing mother.
See ya.
Stand up straight, dear.
And the female homosexual has never recovered from her anger over not having the penis. She wishes to avenge her perceived castration by taking another female as her sexual object.
You're kidding me, right?
Well, I've always been told that homosexuality is unnatural.
Is it? In fact, homosexual relations are common in nature, including zebras, baboons, dolphins, sheep, buffalo, ducks, foxes, elephants, horses, gorillas, moose, house cats, pigs, mice, rabbits, swans, and lions, to name a few.
Well, okay, but we're not animals. Human beings have free will.
You don't just decide who to love.
Settle down there, Martha. Christian does have a point, but let's take a look at the most recent scientific evidence. As they study sexual orientation, scientists are currently looking at three main areas: genes, hormones, and birth order. Of course, most of these studies focus only on male sexuality. Sorry, Martha.
What a shock.
Let's first look at studies of identical twins.
Hi.
When one identical twin is a gay man, the other twin is gay up to 70% of the time, far higher than would occur if genes played no role. In fact, these studies show that genes play a greater role in determining sexual orientation than they do in whether or not you're right or left-handed. And we don't punish the left-handed. Well, not anymore.
Let's get it!
Scientists have recently noticed a striking statistical phenomenon. Studies show that having older brothers increases the odds of a boy being homosexual.
Moms always baby the youngest, making them gay.
No, that's not it. When a woman is pregnant with a boy, scientists are realizing that her female body often sees the male fetus as a foreign object and begins to produce antibodies against it. The more boys a woman has, the more adept her body becomes at feminizing the fetus, which may explain why with every successive boy, the odds that he will be gay go up significantly.
All right, maybe you all accept it, but what about those people who started out gay and say they became straight by discovering God? What about ex-gay ministries?
Even so-called ex-gay ministries don't claim to change a person's inner sexual desires, just his or her sexual conduct.
We're still gay.
If these places really work, why don't they all use the same technique? Why does each ministry experiment its own way?
Well,
And why have so many members and leaders recanted earlier claims that they were changed?
maybe these programs don't work for everyone, but what's the harm?
How about the feelings of shame and guilt they instill and reinforce in their victims? Or the money, energy, and time they sap from people who have nothing wrong with them?
Says you.
Well, in point of fact, not just George says that, Christian. The American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, the American Psychoanalytic Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the National Association of Social Workers have all stated that homosexuality should not be treated as a mental disorder, and that they oppose attempts at reparative or conversion therapy, and that sexual orientation is not a choice and cannot be changed.
So that's it. I'm supposed to believe that it's not a choice just because all those doctors and scientists say so?
Or you could just ask us.
I do know this one girl named Heather who goes back and forth, but she's
Shut up.
The information in this educational cartoon is based upon studies that can be found in any university library, with the possible exception of the Bob Jones University in South Carolina.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the 10%. Philip, I'm going to let you finish what you were saying because I had to cut you off.
Well, that's right. Well, I'm just saying that, to me, it's crucially important that, if we're supposed to be free, I mean, our whole society is built on this concept of freedom, and yet some of us are not free. I've been with my partner for 15 years. We've raised 2 children. We run a company that employs heterosexual people and gay people and everybody. We're small business owners. We pay taxes. I pay the same taxes that Republicans pay, that people that think they're Christian and I'm not pay. But I'm treated like a second-class citizen because my relationship is not recognized. The amount of money that we have to spend on legal documents just to make sure that if one of us dies, that somebody can't come in, swoop in, and take everything away from the other one. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just absolutely horrible.
That's where it's at, is the money. And, you know, we are taxed exactly the same, and we don't have the same rights. So maybe we should start our own Texas Tea Party, and no taxation without adequation, which just basically means without adequate rights and the equal rights of the other groups.
That's my whole thing is if people,
That's a really great idea.
I don't think that I don't have the same rights. I think that maybe same equality on, like, I agree with your point that it takes a little bit more effort for us to get the same benefits as married couples do. But I don't know that I really want to trot on marriage to do it. I think we could work on another way to get it done easier and faster so that we have the same rights. But, you know, marriage is marriage. And I think it's all semantics in the end. In the end, it's all about semantics.
And you know
marriage
that
is what it is by definition. Why do we need to change that?
Until
Let's create something new for us, because it is something new for us.
It's actually not something new for a lot of us. You know, like, for instance, there are a lot of faiths that ordain gay marriages, and within their spirituality, within their religion, it's marriage. And, you know, to say that, you know, our government, and especially here in Texas, you know, when we voted into our Constitution basically a law that's saying you can't have this right, is actually treading on our religious freedom.
Well, more importantly, too, if you go back to the, you know, we all know that everything really pretty much started out with Judaism, and then, you know, there was Jesus, and then the Christian church started, which was, and when the Christian church was founded, it was Catholics, and believe it or not, the Catholic Church actually practiced same-sex marriages until about the year 400. So we're not changing something, we're bringing something back. You know, and it's the whole thing with, you know, women and their role in society. You know, women, you know, there are documents in the Vatican that suggest that women were actually popes, but that they've erased them. You know, kind of like King James, he went through the Bible and just decided, I didn't like this, so I'm going to take it out. You know, anybody who's studied any, you know, real biblical history, the Dead Sea Scrolls, half of them are not in the Bible. I mean, there's like all these books that were like, you know, King James was just like, I didn't like it, or this was too long, or oh, it talked too much about women, or, you know, it didn't make me feel good, or I had gas, and so we're going to take it out. You know, and you've got all these people that like, oh, the Bible is the Word of God. And it's like, no, it's like, first of all, he wasn't speaking English. You know,
regardless of whether it's Christianity or whatever religion, I mean, those arguments should be completely separate from the legality within our government.
Separation of church and state.
Absolutely. Exactly. And, you know, the people who use religion to basically oppress us of our marriage rights, and, you know, to actually be in public and say, I'm married, and not have people look at you and, you know, scorn you and say, no, you're not married, you can be married, which I've actually seen happen. I mean, lesbian couple who were saying, we've been married for, you know, so many years. Lady turned around and was like, there's no way you can get married. I mean, just absolutely was offended. Right. And, you know, this is the type of, you know, discrimination that we have to deal with every single day.
Well, you know what I think would be fabulous that would go along with what you were suggesting is this is my new concept is, fine, nobody's marriage is going to be recognized in our country. Nobody. You can go out if you're straight and get married all frickin' day, but
by the government.
But no, the government will only recognize domestic partnerships.
That's fine with me.
Well, it should be the same, because, you know, really, we've tried the whole separate but equal thing before, and really, I'm hoping that this new president, Obama, you know, really understands that. And, you know, you can't have, you know, domestic partnerships and marriage, you know, because just because they may be the same in your group and in your definition and maybe yours, and you don't care or whatever it is, but once you set that distinction and that discrimination, that this is this and this is this, you have two separate things. And those two separate things, which are supposed to be equal, can never be equal unless they're the same thing.
And let the churches decide. Let the churches decide what they want to call it, and if it's going to be married or not.
Let your church be
exactly.
Right, and see, and Bill gets a lot of this all the time anyway, because that was what your topic is pretty much about, and so I guess this section is going to do that, and then we'll just do yours next.
Sure.
But because you say you get this type of reaction in people talking to you when you tell them you're a gay Republican.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, like if I'm at a party or you know, out with people and we talk about politics comes up, and you know, they'll say something, I'm like, I don't know that I really agree with that, and they're like, well, why not? I'm like, because I'm Republican. And then they look at me like I just grew a third leg out of my ear.
Or like you're a black
person
who's trying to join the KKK.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's kind of how I see it. I mean, you know, but... I'm
But
just,
you know,
just kidding.
the thing about that is
No, you're not.
But to me, it is just
Don't hold back, honey.
Well, it seems kind of counterintuitive, and I think that's the resistance
why?
that you. Well,
That's
because
like saying gay people can't be religious.
Well, no, it's not. It's
It
not
is.
really
Like you
because
can't be gay and Baptist.
one of the fundamental core values of the Republican Party currently is that value of marriage and gays are not equal. And so aligning yourself with that political affiliation, I mean, I think it's fine to be a Republican on, whatever grounds it is that, but, on that one issue, it's
But why
really
can't
counterintuitive.
Why can I not say I don't care about that issue?
But
That's
you
not
can.
important to me.
You can, and that's absolutely you're right. And that's one of the wonderful things about this country. And
But-
and I would die all day long for you to have that right.
Well, what would be your
Absolutely.
what's your reaction like when he says I'm a gay Republican? What would you say? Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's
or-
curiosity because I'm.
But I don't get curiosity, let me tell you that right now. I mean, I've even
I'm
had
sure you
straight
get some
people look at me
aggression.
like,
Yeah.
how can you be Republican? And I'm like, well, because it's what I believe.
Right.
And they're like, well, and then I've had friends of mine tell me, we only believe that because your parents believe that. And I'm like, I have my own opinions, and I'm more offended by their reaction than, anything.
Sure.
And it's just like, it's ridiculous to me that people can be so liberal and act so narrow-minded.
And not respect your beliefs.
Right.
And
Well,
that's what we should.
You also have to look
definitely
at too. Where does change come from? Very very rarely does effective change happen from outside. Typically, effective change happens from within. Right. So from an organizational standpoint, I'm thrilled to death that you're in the Republican Party because we're not going to be seen there unless you're there. So I may not agree with your political view on certain things, but I'm thrilled to death that you're there. And it's kind of like people look at me and they're, a couple of weeks ago, I'm all pissed off at the bishop and they're like, well, quit. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, what are you doing being a Catholic anyway? And I'm like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to fix the bishop. We're going to mess with him until he behaves himself, And so that's
Until he
like,
behaves.
that's right. Until
Wait.
that's right. I mean,
Bishop behaving himself?
you give him
This
some
is-
funny shoes and a big hat, and he thinks he rules the world. It's like, I don't think so. It's like, excuse me, you're just a bishop. So, but I say that
You're
about the Pope.
excommunicated once this airs. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, we did check that out. So he can't actually excommunicate me. He could just cause me to be excommunicated. So, and we hope you don't do that, but whatever.
Well, look what happened. I mean,
Wouldn't
here
be very Christian.
It
in,
wouldn't be.
no.
It would not.
with all of these sort of ironic things with the gay Republicans and all that stuff. Now, California, who I just thought was so liberal and just so open-minded about everything, Proposition 8 passed.
But and that's what's interesting to me is, I don't mind bucking the system. I think we should say what we feel and what we want to do and what's important to us. But you know what? To me, I really still believe in majority rules. To a certain basic core value, majority rules. I mean, you can't fight if everybody else in the world wants something and you don't, then sometimes you just have to say, this doesn't work for me. Let me figure out how I can make it work for me and be more creative. And you know what? If they don't want to make the definition of marriage change for men and men and women, then you know what? Make our own thing. We can do it.
So, saying let's go with another topic.
Yeah,
Let's
and
leave
I
that
love,
one alone for now.
creatively thinking, so we get rid of marriage altogether from the government point of view and everybody's domestic partners. I don't really care, but I just think that we can be more creative and still find a solution. I mean,
And absolutely, if that third solution is something that you ordain in your personal relationship or your faith ordains, then absolutely go with it, run with it. I think everybody should have that right.
I'm
but
going to run on that
And then,
platform.
we should
what?
have the
I
right.
am. I'm going to run on that
have
platform. No
traditional
marriage for anybody.
Right.
That's going to be my
That's a
platform.
really great idea.
Well, I mean,
When-
don't you think you have a
if we ever
traditional
become a
marriage?
majority, then it's a moot point because we're majority.
More importantly, I don't think we have a traditional marriage because we've never been able to legally get married anywhere. And now we can go somewhere and get legally married, but my thoughts are I want to get married in my state. I want Texas to,
Well, I'm gonna use my right to go to break, and we will be right back, and we'll have more of the 10% station.
Yes.